Ethan stood alone in the groom's suite, staring at the reflection in the mirror while the muffled sound of violin music drifted through the walls of the chapel. His tuxedo fit perfectly, the white rose pinned to his chest fresh and elegant, yet none of it felt real. The room was supposed to be crowded with family, his father adjusting his tie, his mother tearing up while pretending not to cry, maybe even his younger brother Ryan making sarcastic jokes to calm the nerves. Instead, the room was silent except for the buzzing of his phone on the wooden table. Another message from his mother. "We're sorry, sweetheart. Ryan already paid for the Dubai package, and your father thinks this opportunity is important for him. We'll celebrate with you when we return." Ethan read the text 3 times, each word burning deeper than the last. They had sent it only 12 hours before the ceremony. 12 hours. After promising for months they would be there. After his fiancée Lena had reserved front-row seats with their names engraved on tiny gold plaques. After he had spent years pretending it didn't hurt that Ryan always came first. Ryan wanted a once-in-a-lifetime boys' luxury trip to Dubai with his influencer friends, and somehow that mattered more than their eldest son getting married. Ethan laughed bitterly under his breath. It wasn't even surprising anymore. When Ryan failed college twice, their parents blamed the professors. When Ethan graduated top of his engineering class, his father simply nodded and asked if Ryan needed help paying rent. When Ethan bought his first apartment alone, his mother told him not to mention it around Ryan because it might make him feel insecure. And now this. His wedding day. Skipped for a vacation. A knock sounded at the door before Lena stepped inside carefully, her white dress glowing softly beneath the warm lights. She looked breathtaking, but her eyes immediately searched the empty room behind him. "They're really not coming?" she asked quietly. Ethan forced a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Looks that way." For a second, anger flashed across her face. Not the loud explosive kind, but the dangerous quiet anger of someone watching another person be treated unfairly for too long. "They don't deserve you," she whispered. Ethan looked down, unable to answer. Lena walked closer and fixed the collar of his tuxedo gently. "You know what I realized this morning?" "What?" "You spent your whole life begging people to love you correctly." The words hit him harder than he expected. Before he could respond, the wedding coordinator entered nervously. 5 minutes. Lena smiled softly at Ethan before leaving, but just before the door closed, she turned back. "You're not standing alone today," she said. The ceremony began beneath massive crystal chandeliers inside the old cathedral. Nearly 200 guests filled the seats. Friends, co-workers, distant relatives, business partners. Everyone looked toward the front pew where Ethan's parents should have been sitting. Empty. The silence around those vacant seats felt louder than the music. Whispers spread quietly through the crowd. "Where are his parents?" "I heard they went on vacation." "On his wedding day?" Ethan kept his composure as he stood at the altar, but inside he felt 16 years old again, the forgotten son waiting after soccer games while his parents missed another championship because Ryan needed emotional support at some party disaster. The doors opened. Lena appeared. Every guest rose instantly. She walked slowly down the aisle, graceful and calm, her father beside her. Ethan felt his chest tighten as tears threatened to surface. For the first time that day, the pain faded beneath something stronger. Love. Real love. The kind that showed up. As Lena reached the altar, she squeezed his hand tightly. Then something unexpected happened. The officiant smiled warmly and cleared his throat. "Before we begin the vows," he announced, "there is someone here who asked to speak." Ethan frowned in confusion. A tall older man stood from the second row. Gasps rippled across the chapel instantly because nearly everyone recognized him. It was Victor Laurent, the billionaire founder of Laurent Technologies. Ethan's CEO. The same man business magazines called one of the most powerful entrepreneurs in America. Victor walked slowly toward the altar while stunned whispers exploded throughout the room. "What is he doing here?" "That's Victor Laurent. He came personally." Ethan looked completely shocked. "Sir?" Victor smiled gently before taking the microphone. "I apologize for interrupting the ceremony," he began, "but I felt this needed to be said publicly." The chapel fell completely silent. "I met Ethan 4 years ago," Victor continued. "At the time, he was the quietest engineer in the room. Never arrogant. Never loud. But every company problem somehow ended up solved by him. A few coworkers laughed softly in agreement. Victor nodded toward Ethan. Last year, 3 of my competitors attempted to recruit him away with offers worth millions. He declined every single one. More murmurs spread. Not because he lacked ambition, Victor said, but because he believed loyalty mattered. Ethan swallowed hard. Victor paused before speaking again, slower this time. Over the years, I also noticed something else. Every achievement this young man accomplished, he celebrated alone. The words sliced through the cathedral. Victor glanced briefly toward the empty front seats. And I could never understand how parents could fail to recognize the extraordinary son they had. Several guests lowered their eyes uncomfortably. Ethan felt Lena gripping his hand harder now. Victor smiled warmly. So today, since certain people chose not to attend, he reached inside his suit jacket and pulled out a folded document. I would like to do something in their place. The chapel watched breathlessly. Victor handed the paper to Ethan. I officially appoint you as the new chief executive partner of Loron Technologies International Division. A collective gasp filled the room. Someone in the audience literally dropped a champagne glass. The promotion was enormous, worth tens of millions, global leadership authority, and partial company ownership. A position executives twice Ethan's age had fought for. Ethan stared at the document in disbelief. Sir, I don't know what to say. Victor placed a hand on his shoulder. Say yes. The audience erupted into applause, so loud it echoed through the cathedral walls. But Victor wasn't finished. One more thing, he said, smiling toward Lena. Your honeymoon flight leaves tomorrow morning. Lena blinked. Flight? Victor chuckled. My private jet. 7 days in Santorini. Consider it my wedding gift. Now people were standing, cheering openly. Ethan could barely breathe. At the back of the cathedral, several guests had already started posting online. Within minutes, photos spread across social media. Billionaire CEO surprises employee at wedding after parents skip ceremony. Parents miss son's wedding for Dubai trip. CEO steps in. The story exploded faster than anyone expected. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away inside a luxury Dubai rooftop restaurant, Ryan scrolled through his phone lazily before freezing. Mom. His mother looked up from her drink. What? Ryan slowly turned the screen toward them. Victor Loron standing beside Ethan at the altar. Headlines everywhere. Millions reacting. Comments flooding in. Imagine abandoning your son like this. His parents chose the wrong child. Ethan won in life. Ryan's father grabbed the phone, his face draining of color as he read article after article about Ethan's promotion and public recognition. Then came the live stream clip. Victor saying, I could never understand how parents could fail to recognize the extraordinary son they had. The words hit like a public execution. Ethan's mother covered her mouth. People online had already identified them. Messages poured into their phones non-stop from relatives, neighbors, even church friends. How could you miss your son's wedding? You should be ashamed. Ryan muttered quietly, maybe we should go back. But nobody answered. Back at the cathedral, Ethan finally looked out at the crowd again, not once toward the empty seats. Because for the first time in his life, he realized something important. Family wasn't the people who shared your blood. It was the people who showed up when your heart was on the line. Lena wiped tears from her cheeks as the officiant smiled warmly. Now, he said, shall we begin the wedding?